Government elaborates on the main objective of its latest housing measures. Pro-government DAB demands full inquiry into Shatin to CentralLink scandal.
Hello, good evening. The housing chief clarified the latest measures on housing today, stressing they're to make subsidised homes more affordable rather than being an antidote to the city's soaring property prices. The government also talked up a plan to build transitional homes at temporary parking lots. Caleb Lowe reports.
The government yesterday announced ways to make flats more affordable, such as introducing the so-called vacancy tax. The Transport and Housing Chief today clarified that the measures are not specifically designed to push down property prices.
The policy objective of the 6 initiatives are basically to enhance the linkage between affordability of those who are going to buy subsidized units, and also to enhance the supply of subsidized housing. And the last 2 initiatives are basically to foster a more efficient delivery of built private flats for purchase or for rental usage.
The government also proposed to unlink the price of subsidized flats with the market rate, hence lowering the price of home ownership scheme flats. The Housing Authority will discuss in July on reopening the application for the latest round of HOS flats in October. Anthony Chiu, a member of the HA Subsidized Housing Committee, said the price cut may attract more people to try their luck for an HOS flat. Chiu also said the cut may come with harsher resale restrictions. Chen welcomes the idea, noting that new restrictions may include an extension on the resale ban period. Chen also talked about plans to build transitional housing at a plot of land in Lai Chi Kok. The project, which is expected to yield 200 units, will be built on a temporary car park. If the project is successful, there may be more transitional housing built on other car parks with short-term leases. The government plans to allow non-government organizations to operate these flats. Caleb Lowe, TVB News.
The pro-establishment camp is calling on the chief executive to expand an investigation into the MTR construction scandal to cover the entire Shatin to CentralLink project. For now, the probe is focusing on reports of substandard work at Hong Hom Station. Pinky Wong reports.
Pro-establishment lawmakers had this message for the chief executive: be serious about substandard work on the Shatin to CentralLink project. In a letter to Carrie Lam, they asked for an expansion of powers of a commission of inquiry and hold the MTRC's management accountable for the shoddy work. Despite their pleas, these 4 DAB legislators all voted against a motion under LegCo's Powers and Privileges Ordinance to set up a select committee to look into the MTR's alleged concealment of alleged substandard works. That's as Transport Chief Frank Chan called on relevant parties to provide evidence to law enforcement agencies, including the anti-graft body, on shortened steel bars at Hong Kong Station. The MTR Corporation is also facing other pressures. One union is asking for a salary increase of not less than 7%.
Our overnight shift allowance is about 15%, but now it's just 35%. So we asking for resume to our 15% standard. Review our operation staff frontline salary.
The union emphasized that no correlation should be made between the mistakes of subcontractors and the efforts of frontline staff, so their pay rise should not be compromised. The MTRC will make its decision on an adjustment on July 4th. Meanwhile, for passengers, a 3.14% fare hike took effect today. That comes with a 3% rebate, offsetting the increase for the time being. But the discount will only last for 6 months. So be prepared to pay more starting January next year. Pinky Wong, TVB News.
Pro-establishment lawmaker Elizabeth Kwok strongly condemned an apparent act of arson outside her office overnight. Leaflets and plastic boards at the ground floor office in Ma On Shan were burnt. Police were alerted to the fire at around 3:30 a.m. and are now looking for a 20 to 30-year-old man. Kwok, a member of the pro-establishment Democratic Alliance for the Betterment and Progress of Hong Kong, says her office staff are not involved in any arguments. Police are also looking into another case of arson, this time at Sai Kung District Councillor Christine Fong's office at Ming Tak Shopping Centre in Cheung Kwan O.
I strongly believe that this time it's not an accident to my board nearby my office. If we speak out on those local issues regarding our livelihood or our local society, I think people should not, revenge or do something criminal like.
The death toll has climbed to 18 after a traffic accident in Hunan province last night. Another 14 people were injured when a tour bus collided with a truck. Rescuers removed the truck, which is normally filled with chemicals. While it still looks intact, the same can't be said for the coach involved in the crash. According to the official Xinhua news agency, the coach carrying 30 passengers collided head-on with the truck at around 8:30 last night. The truck driver was among those who died. This happened on the Hangdong section of the Beijing-Hong Kong-Macau Expressway. It only reopened 13 hours after the accident. I flipped from one seat to another. I'm not entirely sure what happened, but woke up covered in blood, said this bus passenger. Others on the long-haul bus were sent to hospital for bone fractures, including this 47-year-old. He said the coach wasn't full at the time. Mainland authorities are checking if the coach driver is guilty of fatigue driving as they look into the cause of the crash. US President Donald Trump has lauded the economic miracle that he unleashed on the economy with the biggest tax cuts in American history. His claims were disputed by the media and a Washington-based think tank that advocates for deficit reduction.
6 months ago, we unleashed an economic miracle by signing the biggest tax cuts and reforms, but the tax cuts is what got us there, and that's what's really doing it. The biggest tax cuts in American history. Now it's my great honor to welcome you back to the White House to celebrate 6 months of new jobs, bigger paychecks, and keeping more of your hard-earned money where it belongs, in your pocket or wherever else you want to spend it.
But analysts say Trump's tax cuts were far from miraculous. They have simply helped stoke additional growth in an economic expansion that was already approaching its 10th year. Also, the additional growth is largely fueled by government borrowing, with Trump's tax cuts heaping more than $1 trillion onto the national debt. And according to the U.S. Committee for a Responsible Federal Budget, the Trump tax cut isn't even the biggest in American history, as the president claims. It ranks behind Ronald Reagan's in the early 1980s, as well as post-World War II tax cuts, and at least several more.
Coming up on tonight's news. Couple arrested in Tuen Mun over death of newborn baby girl. PLA troops put on a show as it opens its barracks to the public. And bid to launch Japan's first privately developed space rocket ends in failure.
Welcome back. A woman and her boyfriend were arrested overnight in connection with the death of a newborn baby girl. The baby's body was discovered at a refuse collection point in Tuen Mun. Christy Leung has more.
In the early hours of the morning, police arrested a 28-year-old woman on suspicion of killing a newborn baby. Her 43-year-old boyfriend was also arrested and is suspected of concealing the birth of child. Officers took away evidence from their flats at Yao Oi Estate in Tuen Mun, including a pair of scissors and some clothes. Police say one of them admitted to abandoning the baby in a trolley as it appeared to be unresponsive after birth. Police received a report last night that a suspected dead baby was discovered at the estate's refuse collection point.
Inside the trolley bag, he found a dead body. Upon police arrival, it was confirmed that the dead body is a newborn baby girl. Umbilical cord has been removed and without placenta.
Police arrested the couple after reviewing closed-circuit television footage.
Initial police investigations also found that the couple had no record of domestic violence. Still, the baby's body will be sent for an autopsy to ascertain the cause of death. Christy Leung, TVB News.
Another needle has been found on the seat of a KMB bus, the fifth one this week. This time, a 7-centimeter needle was found on the seat of a Route 59M bus from Chun Muon to Tuen Mun. It was discovered by the bus driver around 4 p.m. He alerted the police. No injuries were reported.
Police have arrested 63 people during a recent crackdown on triads. Over the past 2 days, police raided 5 illegal gambling establishments as well as 13 brothels. Those arrested were mostly youngsters, with the youngest one only 15 years old. Officers said the gang had been recruiting young members in parks and bars and assigned them to manage illegal activities such as drug dealing.
The People's Liberation Army held an open house today at their barracks in Shek Kong. Visitors got to see troops conduct military drills, such as an anti-terrorist exercise. They also got up close with military vehicles and weapons, such as helicopters, handguns, and submachine guns. The barracks in San Wei were also open today, while the Stonecutters Island barracks will open tomorrow and Monday.
Overseas again, Canada has hit back at the United States over steel and aluminium tariffs imposed by the Trump administration. Ottawa slams the US move as hurtful and has vowed it will not back down. Starting in July, it will impose punitive measures on $16.6 billion Canadian dollars worth of American goods until Washington relents. Jeff Tang reports.
US President Donald Trump's tariffs on Canadian steel and aluminium imposed since the beginning of this month have unsurprisingly triggered swift retaliation from his northern neighbour. Canadian Foreign Minister Chrystia Freeland slammed Washington's move as absurd, which left Ottawa with no choice but to hit back.
We will not escalate, and we will not back down. Countless Canadians of many diverse political points of view agree with this approach. We are acting very much in sorrow, not in anger. But the U.S. tariffs leave Canada no choice but to defend our industries, our workers, and our communities. The solution to this unprecedented dispute is for the United States to rescind its tariffs on Canadian steel and aluminum, which do not pose any kind of security threat to the United States.
Freeland made her remarks in the port city of Hamilton, where the steel company of Canada, or Stelco, is based. She said while Canada's perfectly reciprocal action gives no grounds for further US tariffs, Ottawa will not be afraid to escalate things if Washington does. Canada's dollar-for-dollar response, or $12.6 billion US dollars to be exact, will include taxes on imports of US products such as yogurt, caffeinated roasted coffee, toilet paper, and sleeping bags. Many of the US products being taxed, which also include ketchup, lawnmowers and motorboats, were chosen for their political rather than economic impact. The items will be subject to taxes of 10 or 25% and will take effect from July 1st. The move marks a new low in ties between the Northern American neighbours and trading partners, which have become increasingly strained since Trump came to power last January. Jeff Tang, TVB News.
Millions of ballots are going out across Mexico ahead of the country's largest ever election tomorrow. Leftist candidate Andrés Manuel López Obrador holds a wide lead in most polls as he rides a wave of discontent with the country's political class. This is the third time López Obrador has run for the presidency. He alleged fraud twice before, after losses in 2006 and 2012. Some of his supporters again fear that dirty tricks could be used to keep him from office, even as authorities and outside observers say the possibility is remote. 80 million registered voters are being urged to get out and participate. More than 18,000 government posts are up for grabs in Sunday's vote.
Speculation is growing ahead of a meeting between US President Donald Trump and Russian President Vladimir Putin next month in Helsinki. The White House says the two leaders will discuss relations between the two countries and a range of national security issues. Observers say US organizers have lots to consider.
You would want them to talk about Syria in a serious way. You want them to talk about Ukraine in a serious way. And you'd want them to talk about arms control and nuclear weapons in a serious way. And you'd also want the U.S. president to challenge the Russian president on Russian interference in American democracy.
Trump and Putin will meet July 16th against the backdrop of an ongoing special counsel probe into possible ties between the president's campaign and Russian officials. The investigation has raised tensions between Moscow and Washington at a time when Trump has repeatedly said he wants to build a strong personal relationship with Putin. And that's the news.